Good evening, Shaggy SoCal Tool for Forza, and we just finished our first two races for the season of TNT in the 2020 Toyota Supra. Again, I didn't get a chance to do the track guides for the first two tracks because I just scheduling and like that, not knowing exactly what we were racing in time to do it. But now that I know the rest of the schedule, I hopefully can get back to doing some of these track guides for this Supra here. So races coming up. I'm out of practice. Races coming up for this coming Thursday will be at Spa-Francorchamps on the full circuit. Actually, it's the only circuit we've got in Forza here. And then Road America, the East Loop, so the East Circuit. That one's going to be fun. But I figured I'd start with Spa, something a little bit familiar. And like any track guide, I'm gonna run a couple of laps, point out the things that I'm trying to do with the Supra, what it seems to want to do or like to do, and maybe some of the pitfalls to avoid in the race. I mean, we've now got two races in it under our belt, so I think we all should be a little bit more familiar with what to expect. But doesn't hurt to have a little bit of extra information. And at that point, then I'm going to try and run on mock race against the AI and free play. I was trying to set that up earlier, and let's just say, and I'll complain about it later, but let's just say that if you're going from Forza 7 to this Forza Motorsport, and you want a certain amount of parity between functionality between the previous game to the current game, well, I've got a bone to pick with some of the free play setup where it's just kind of like, so I'll get to that eventually. But let's go ahead. I'm just going to head and let's go out and set up fuel and tire. I'm going to run soft. We'll do, I'll put, and by 7 laps, it's barely 7 laps. It's really just 6 laps of fuel. I think that's good enough for the test driving portion. The other thing too is I was experimenting, and I actually switched it off mid-race. The Supra does have a race transmission, so you could do manual with clutch and not have to worry about doing, if you're under control, you don't have to worry about trying to hit the clutch or use the clutch pedal on your wheel. The shifts are definitely harsher, and I think for me it is a bit quicker, but the shifts are harsher. I think whether I run manual clutch or not is going to be track dependent with this car. I had manual clutch on it at Lime Rock and was, for the most part, fine. I think it only got sketchy in the South Chicane in the rain. But for VIR, it's like, nope, I had to go back to regular manual. It just didn't seem to mesh well. I think with some of the things I've noticed with this car at Spa, I would probably recommend sticking with manual, but to each their own. But let's go ahead and get into it. Rolling start. In 5th gear, really, really slow. Okay, so no easy other reference points aside from the braking line there. I'll see if I can spot one. Again, can use a lot more of the inside curbs. You just got to be careful how quickly you get back on the throttle as the car's, jumping off the curb there. You don't want to stab it too quickly. Brake just at the light poles on the left and right side down to 2nd gear. Again, I can cut in this one inside a little bit. Careful rolling into the throttle and exit. The wheel spin is going to be a big thing with this car out of the slow corners. Get it up in 5th for Eau Rouge. Ooh, I turned it a little early, but kind of salvaged it. Down the Kimmel Straight. Right, just at the sign down the 3rd gear. Not going to use a lot of curve there. We'll probably use a lot of curving and tarmac there. Ease off the throttle. Go back in. Can use the throttle there to kind of help rotate the car a little bit. You'll feel that in the back end. 2nd gear, the Supra does not like this turn. You can hear the tires chattering, you can see the hood shaking. 4th gear, gonna wind it out to fourth gear this lap. I still think that this is Puhan, but I know they changed the name. I forget what they changed it to. You're on the way out. You can wind it up in fourth, but you'll hit the rev limiter right before you need to brake. And the third. Not a lot of braking, but that could have been a little better. Third gear. Brake just at the curbing, where the curbing begins. Probably use a little more than inside curbing. We use a lot of the exit curbing. Turn in is right about where I upshift to fourth. Out of step low. Step low. And then we head towards. Just ease off the throttle, turn the car in, and start rolling back into the throttle. Again, be careful. Don't do what I do. If you hook your inside tires there on the curbing, the back end will step out a little bit. I would expect that to happen a lot during the race. You know, the car's a little unsettled getting onto the front straightaway, and it's very easy then to get on too aggressive with the throttle and spin yourself out on the final turn. We'll do one more lap, and then I'll do kind of the slower lap. Let's see if I can break down some of this here. So the car coming back across the left on its own. Still in fifth gear. Probably using a lot more curving there than I probably used in the race. We'll see. That's on soft. You can only imagine what medium's going to be like. Pretty sure track limits will give you a penalty if you go wide through that long sweeper. And again, not getting the weight transition right there. That could have been better. That could have been better. Come on. Penalties can be a bit harsh here depending on where you go off. Like I'm going to get a penalty for that. And you can't do blanchiment flat. Maybe if Matt dialed a little bit of the understeer out of it, maybe it could, but it is what it is. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and slow it down a little bit and see if I can. Part of this is I mean, but when I started doing the track guides of Forza 7, you know, the game had been out for like what 5-6 years, so I was pretty familiar with where things were at from like additional reference points. Well, new game, a lot of it's changed. So coming down for turn one here, it's the two light poles. You can see the one that's just kind of up right under where my best lap is there. That's usually the one I'm kind of keying off of. Again, I'm probably relying a little bit too much on the braking line, but as I'm seeing that go out of view, I'm braking about here. It also corresponds to that light pole there on the right side. So as you kind of pass through those, at least for me in this setup, that's about where I'm looking at braking for the first turn. Down to second gear. You know, the turn in, you can use a lot of the inside curbing here. Just again, because this car, it's easy to spin the rear tires up on this car, stepping back into the throttle. And because a lot of these slower corners where you got a lot of, you know, steering angle dialed in, it will, you know, if you get too aggressive getting back to throttle, it is going to pitch the car out. I mean, you saw me do it in the final corner here, just in the laps. I had a similar situation at VAR going, you know, for the hairpin into the infield section. This car just, you got to be gentle with, a little bit gentle with the throttle out of slow corners. So you do get a little bit of help. There's a little bit of banking at the apex, but then it does, you know, again, because it is a road, it's going to crown out. Okay, up second gear, third, fourth, fifth gear. So fifth, you know, you'll be up in fifth heading down the hill here into Eau Rouge. Now, again, thank God for new track limits. So what I'm aiming to do is I don't have anything that I'm looking ahead. I used to like, oh, I can go look at the signs like there. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to angle the car in and turn the car in so that I am, you know, I'm going to use a lot of this curving here. Probably, so if I'm lined up pointed at anything, I'm kind of mostly pointed at the left billboard there. Honestly, I haven't I've been looking at it lately. So, but this is a good spot to be. As I get here, I'm going to come off the throttle. I'm going to give just like quick little dab of brake just to get a little more weight in the front so the car turns as we head up into Radial, if I get the pronunciation correct. The nice thing with this is that, at least as far as the contour of the inside curving, it does, as you come up the hill, you can kind of see, and I'm going to stop here. And it's partly, I'll say it's partly a perception thing for where I'm sitting at, but you can kind of see, if you look at the inside curve, it kind of curves, and you kind of see just as it's about to go over the crest, it kind of straightens out a little bit. You know, so the contour, it isn't symmetrical. So it does curve for a bit and straightens out for a little bit and curves a little more. So what I've noticed, and I noticed this, you know, doing these guides in 7, and it's still here as well. What I'm going to try and do is get the car up to where you can see it, where it's flattened out a little bit. If I'm parallel here with the curving at this point before it crests the hill, in theory, you know, I might still have to have a little bit of steering to bring the car to the right, but if I do it right, I should crest the hill and be perfectly lined up to go straight across, cross over. Again, we've got more generous track limits, so you can use a bit more of the curving than we could before. And it's all about, you know, coming up the Radion and cresting, you know, the Camel. I think the crest here is Camel. Is as you make that initial turn up, is to take this as straight as possible. I don't want to have a lot of steering input, especially as you're cresting the hill. I don't want any extra weight transfer on this car that's going to cause it the back end to start to fishtail and I get into a bit of a tank slapper. So if I do it right, I should be able to take this pretty much straight up, crest the hill, the car is going to just naturally come out to the right, and then I'll just line it up here, up in 5th gear. Maybe this is Camel, but this is definitely the Camel straight, so I'll let the car just drift back to the left side here. 5th gear. We'll definitely have a bit of a draft train down this straight. And so braking for the next set of corners is, now unfortunately I turned off the segment line thing just so it wasn't as distracting, but I was hoping it would take the banner things off, but it does kind of line up with the 100 board that I'm looking at here. That's about where I'm going to start to brake. So look for the 100 board. It's the last white board before you hit the curbing. So the curbing also, where that starts, it's a good thing to look for if you can't see the braking line. For me, this will be down to 3rd gear. And the way I take this is I will try and use a little bit of curve on entry here. I'm not going to use a huge amount. I'm not going to use like this. I tend to just kiss the curbing on the right side, but I will abuse then the track limit curbing on this side. I'll cut way in here. Again, can use a lot more, I think, than we were able to in the previous in FM7. But the whole idea is that I want the car out and set on the left side here, heading into the next corner. It's just a little bit of, I don't really need to brake. I'm just lifting the throttle, coming out of the throttle to turn in. Apex is just about at the end of the green curving, roll back into the throttle, up to fourth gear, heading down the hill. These next two corners, at least for me right now, seem to be the two corners that the Supra does not like, because they are, you're not getting the roads, you're not getting any help from the road, and it's just the tires just don't seem to want to grip. But the braking is just before the curving starts here on the left side. I don't think we don't have a braking board here on the left. No, we don't. So braking is, just I'd say if you're braking at the curbing, it might be a little too late. But if you can notice there with the grass, you can kind of start to see where the dirt, where people have dropped tires. So you can if you can see that little strip of dirt there at the edge of the grass with the white line, you can kind of key off of that as well. But for me, it's down to third. I think second's the way to go. I'm still experimenting with it. The car entry seems to be fine. It's when you get to the midpoint and it tightens up more. This is where the front tires are going to start to protest, and you'll hear it if you're watching the demo laps. You'll hear the tires start to really chatter. The other nice thing that the game, at least the way I have it set, you'll actually visually see, like I race in hood view, I'll visually see the hood of the car start to shake and vibrate as the front tires lose grip. And obviously force feedback helps as well. But for me, second gear here, we'll see how it is on mediums, but just the car, at least for me, doesn't seem to like this corner. Out, bring it out to the left side, bring it back across. Again, there's really no good braking marker that I can point out here. I would just say, I think what I say in the past is I'm probably going to rely on the braking line more than I should. But it seems to be you went the car on the right side, ready to turn in, do a quick brake and turn in. About halfway between where this curve is, from the start to the end of this curve that I'm on, seems about halfway is where the braking line is going to tell you to whoa the car up a little bit for the next corner. Turn it in. Going to try to use the inside curving here as best I can without getting onto the grass. Out, still third gear, up to fourth. Now heading down the hill, up to you. You can wind this out in fourth, or you can put it to fifth, and then when you brake, you can downshift it to fourth on entry. For me, what I'm looking at, Forza 7, there was a nice, convenient camera position. There was also a course condition light. There was a couple things on the right side that made it pretty easy to kind of gauge a braking point. What I seem to be looking for right now is, you can see the orange painted section there, the catch fence, that so people can, the crew workers or drivers can get in and out of the fence. That's about the one I'm looking for braking. Now the question is, was the first one there? Yeah, I think it was. This is where I haven't been paying attention. I believe that's the one that I'm looking at. I'll validate that in the race, but as I'm seeing that one go out of view on the right side there, that is where I'm going to brake. Whether I leave it in fourth or I'm in fifth to turn in, I'll put it into fourth if I'm not already in it. Let the car come out. Now, again, generous track limits, but unlike previous Forza where you could go wide here and come back on and not get a time penalty, it does give you a time penalty now. But nice long double apex or fourth gear. Now you can wind out, if you get the previous turn right, you can wind this out in fourth gear, and you'll hit the rev limiter right before you get to this Forza Motorsport sign on the left side. That's also about where you're going to want to get to the brakes. So if you want to wind it out and hit the rev limiter right as you get to the braking, great. If you feel more comfortable putting it into fifth and then braking at this point and downshifting that for the next corners, it's up to you as well. I don't know that there's a right or wrong gearing there. I think that's preference, but Next set of corners, I would have it in third gear. And since it's a left-right combo, I'm going to sacrifice this one a little bit to get the car keep the car on the right side, so I can take this one a little more traditionally and accelerate out in third gear. You can wind this one out in third gear, or you can do a short shift to fourth if you want. Braking is kind of where the segment thing starts, but it's also where, you know, the curbing starts on the left side, is where you want to brake for this next corner in third gear. I probably won't take a lot of inside curb here. Historically, I tend not to, but I will use as much of the exit curbing as the game's going to let me. Now, heading to Stavlo here, usually my turn-in point is about where the beginning of the inside curbing, painted curbing, starts to go off the screen. If I've gotten the previous corner right, it's also right about the point where I'm in third gear. I'm going to upshift to fourth. So whatever seems to work for you. I think cadence-wise, the upshift to fourth is probably easier for me to remember for muscle memory. But it is fourth off the curbing. It is I'm going to late apex it. And actually, I think the braking line, the suggested line is pretty good here. Then to late apex that and let the car come out to the left side. You can get on this outside curbing. It's not going to upset the car too much. Then we head down to Blanchement in fifth gear. So the braking line is going to want you to be neat and tidy and keep it, you know, on the racing surface. I'll probably do that for the first lap or two, but I'm going to, you know, ideally, I want to try and open up Blanchement as much as I can. So I will use as much as the screen curbing as the game will let me without smacking me for track limits. Again, I haven't gotten to a point where I can say, hey, look at this tree or look at this, you know, for the turn in. I am still kind of going by feel, relying on the braking line. You can't take Blanchement flat, or at least I haven't been able to. So for me, it is going to be a lift to turn in to get the car into the corner. I don't need to brake, just lift to turn in. As you get to the apex, you can start, you know, as you get to the inside curbing, you can start to roll back into the throttle, you know, adjust your steering and throttle on the exit accordingly to get out of the corner. You're still in fifth gear. Be careful dropping your inside tires in the grass here, because it will, again, there's a couple other places that'll do it as well. It will pitch the car, the back end will step out, and you'll start sliding across the track. So be careful of that. Bring it out to the outside here, and into the final chicane, which again, I haven't found a definitive, again, there's really no, well, there's a braking board there for 150. It's not highly visible, but I think that's about what it lines up with the braking line. So we'll see how that goes. Again, I think I'm relying on the braking line a little too much here, but this last chicane's interesting. This is the one I think if there's going to be unforced errors, this is where we're going to see it the most. Because everything's off camber. This car, again, doesn't like, you know, it wants you to be careful getting back to the gas out of the corners. But ideally, what I want to try and do, what we'll experiment on, is it is second gear. Much like any of these other left-right combos, I want to try and, you know, cut this one as much as I can so that I get the car, ideally, this is the ideal at slow, when I can do it slow on the track. The car will be mostly to the right side. But heading into this final corner, I don't know what's quicker. The track limits, really, you can get all the way, you know, all the way here and not invoke track limits. But, you know, now I'm invoking track limits. You can get you can hit over the red kind of curbing there, elevated curbing into the green stuff. But it's just then transitioning off of it back onto the racing surface, and depending on how much steering you have in, how, you know, it's going to be a crapshoot. I think I don't know if there is a consistent right way to do this with this car that's not going to bite you if you're not careful. If you keep it neat and tidy, you don't want to stab the throttle out. because even there, now I'm on cold softs, but it can get the back end to step out, and then if it's sick and it does that, you just got to get out, just get on the binders, get the car slowed down, roll back into the throttle. But I would say that corner, I think if you're gonna see people lose the back end and nose into the left side wall, that's where it's gonna happen. So that's a lap. That's a lap of Spa and the Supra. So what I'm going to try and do now is we're going to try and do free play. So let's go ahead and exit this. And this is where I'm going to gripe a little bit. So let's go to event menu. And we're going to go to event. We're going to go to event setup. And then I'm going to load my settings. And then I'll go through and kind of point out what I'm trying to do and why I'm kind of a little, because I was playing with this earlier and I'm a little miffed at turn 10. It's like, come on, guys. What am I now? If I'm doing something wrong, then someone please tell me. Well, what I'm trying to do is I want to set it up. And now in previous Forza, what I would tend to set up is free play, whatever bucket one. If I do multiple buckets, multiple groups, player car, I would always be in group one. So I would set that group for me, and then I would set whatever delay I have. And then I would have whatever buckets 2, 3, or however 4, however many I have. And then for the amount of drivers in it, I could say bucket one, that's me. I'm the only one in it. So min max 1. And then let's say for the other 2 to get to 24, maybe I do 12, 5, and 6 for the next buckets, where I would set, hey, group 2, minimum drivers, you have to have 12 in it, but you can't have any more than 12. Bucket 3, you can have 5, but not any more than 5. And min max in the last one, 6. So between the 4 groups, me and 23, it should add up to 24. And then when I go into the race, the game, based on the divisions that I would set for the different groups, everything would line up perfectly. I would have the right cars, the right amount of cars in the right groups. So here's where we're going to have fun. So let's talk up through here. So for the basic setup, we're going to do, I'm guessing based off my lap time, the race is going to be about 9 to 10 laps that's roughly a 25-minute race. I think that's the time frame Matt aims for. Some of the other basic setups. Starting time of day will be random. I think that's consistent with what we're doing for the races, time progression rolling. I don't know what time scale Matt uses. I think he lowered it to 2. This is where I start for weather. My experience in free play, and I think what we've seen in our multiplayer races is variable basically is Forza saying, oh, you like rain. Okay, variable, yeah, we'll give you rain. And it's, I would like to see the variable not have so much rain, but it just seems to be anytime I've done variable, it's always raining. It's either always raining at the start, it always rains in the middle or towards the end. So I'm actually just going to say, you know what, if it rains, fine, but I'm just going to set it to random. So that way, I get a random race at a random time of day with random race at a random time of day with random weather, but not changing weather. And again, if I had to say, as this game is developed, I would love to see kind of like, again, parity with previous lobby setups is great. We want to do variable weather. Can we influence the chances of it? To give, not anyhow. That I don't want to get too much into detail. It's not what this video is for. It's a track guide, not a Forza complaint. But again, it's something I'd like to see a little bit more options put in. I'm going to do dynamic track rubbering. That's fine. Driver difficulty 8. Number of driver tires 23. Okay, now here's where we get into the bucketing. And this is where I'm just kind of going. So for the me group, kind of going off of what I would normally do from Forza 7, me group is I want to start 5 seconds behind the rest of the field. I want to start back. So that's how usually I would do it. Put me in my own group. I will start 5 seconds behind everybody else, or the groups in front of me. Min driver, max driver, 1. I'm the only driver. I should be the only driver in it. It's fine for the defaults. We're in, this car is in the modern sport group division with performance index and so on and so forth. Great. So that should just be group me, should just be me, just me. Now I get to opponents. Opponents, I was a little bit broader, but again, min drivers 0, max drivers 23. Now the thing is, I would love to say 23, 23, but it says I have to at least have 12. All right, that's fine as long as I'll do min 12. That's fine. Max 23. No power handicap, and basically I'm still fudging with the AI opponent. I find if I do the sport coupe division, I can't necessarily get them all up, all the AI up to my performance level, so I'm kind of still jury rigging PI. But 725 to 800, those cars should be at Drivatar level 8. A few of them should be outrunning me and make it tough for me to catch them. But I'm going to leave that open. Aspiration. Now, and then finally to get to the rules, just to round this out, expert rules. Standing start, grid ordering PI, ascending grid order. That's fine. Roll-off delay per car is 0. I do have mandatory pit stops. We are going to run 1 mandatory pit stop. And number of car groups 2. Score groups independently. I've never done that in the past. Order by car group, if I'm reading that correctly. Drivers are ordered on the grid by car group. This means drivers in a car group are in a sequential order within their group. Okay, I think I need to have that on so that we're not mixing the groups together. They are group 1, group 2. So in theory, now based off Forza 7, I should be able to load in. I should be the only car in group 1. Group me.
Okay, I've created your note. It's called 7. I should be able to, then I should be the only car in group 1.
Thank you, Siri. Lost my train of thought. Okay, so when I start up, basically I should be the only one in my bucket. All the other driver tars, all the other AI should be in the other bucket. And the whole intent is they go first. I'll start 5 seconds after them. I'll catch them by turn 1. But I'm just trying to get myself to start in the back without actually having to engineer something where I have to pull off and then rejoin. So let's see what happens when I accept all. Okay, so let's go to event info. Yep, 10 laps, NES. Okay, there we go. Let's look at our driver list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I got 11 there, and I'm in bucket 1. I got the 11 cars in front of me, bucket 2. But, yeah, that's not what I asked for. So, and it's putting me right in the middle, which is the other thing. I did not want to be in the middle. So, and maybe do I have this again? So I have no idea what. So this is the other complaint. Turn 10. Please go and do free play. Set up a multi-bucket race and group and play around with the order, and then try to do the same thing in the current one. If you can't do it in the current one, please fix it. If you can do it in the current one and I'm doing something wrong, then tell me what I'm doing wrong. So what I'm going to do now is let's just go ahead and let's get out of this. I'm going to go back to event info and I'll jury rig it like I normally do. So event setup. So we'll get rid of the grouping. Go back to a single group. Nope, 1. So number of groups 1. That's fine. Grid ordering. PI, still do it in ascending order. It's probably going to put me up towards the front when all is said and done. Modern Sport Coupe. Nope, we're going to go any car. But we're going to. I have to do it from 700. 6, 7. And we'll drop this down to 8. 650? No, 800. That should make just about everybody at my same level. 2026. Okay, powertrain. I'm not. Yeah, that's all fine. I think it's just the standards there. Let's just make sure we still have. Enduro pit stops still one. Okay, let's go ahead and that. Yep, let's reload. Drive info. Okay, so good. Good mix of cars. I don't know why it's still. Well, actually, let's do this. We're still learning about the game. Let's just back out and we'll start fresh. See where it puts me. Actually, I might even look at let's try this one more time. It should remember the settings I had last time. This is the other thing. I'm in the Toyota. Why can't I see the car that I'm currently in here first, pick that, and not have to scroll through it? I only have me scrolling through all my cars if I need to change the car. But if I'm already in the Toyota, why can't it just show me the Toyota right off the bat? Again, it's the spit and polish. Nope, it's still doing it as test drive. Okay, so let's go ahead and manually set it up. So circuit race. Maybe that was the problem. Let's find out. Full circuit, track layout, race length, custom. 7, 8, 9, 10. Random. Rolling to random. 158 on 23. Rules. None. Any 700 to 800. Quicker way to sit. It's one of those like wish that I had a quicker way to just wish I could just type it in, but it is what it is. I'm on the wheel. Rules. Okay, let's just make sure I got the rules set right. Expert, standing, PI. I wonder if I have that. Let's say, for example, the grid rating is set to PI drivers at the lowest PI start in the first. Well, grid rating's PI. If I have it off, does that mean it's going to put me in the back? Because that would be helpful. And number of cart. No, should be a thing for quick stops. There we go. Mandatory pit stops 1. Okay, fingers crossed that it did this right. And what are we going to have for our weather condition and time of day? Curse you, Forza. Curse you.
The good news here at Spa is that they laid new asphalt that added a ton more grip, which should give you the opportunity to really push the car out there.
Event setup. Yeah, no offense. I'm gonna go to Eagle Rock really quick and come back. Again, it's like I like. Can you give me?
Fast racing 3 cars wide is business as usual here at Eagle Rock. So race clean and be respectful of your competition.
Because we're still set to thunderstorm. Because once it sets the random. All right, let's see if I can get it to not. Be interesting to say, Can we do a night race? Overcast wet. You know what? Screw it. No. Let's do partly cloudy because it's just. Go late afternoon. This stream's gone on much longer than I think it really needed to, but it's kind of like I want to set it to random, but I'm not happy with the randomness. So, all right. So event info. Okay, we'll do 10 laps, partly cloudy, late in the afternoon. Let's look at my driver's list. It still puts me in the middle. I don't. Does not make sense. I don't understand. But be that as it may. Let's go to car. We're going to fuel and tire it. And wow. Okay. Oh wait, I got 15 laps of fuel. Just looking at the wrong one. So for me in these Thursday night races, we do have a minimum 1 pit stop to change tire compounds. I know some of you guys do the fuel stuff and like you plan your fuel out. I think for me at least right now that's a little more than my brain can handle. Unless I know what the laps are well enough ahead of time to say, oh, it's X amount of laps. I think the risk is if I take less fuel than I need for the race, then I'm committing to a certain pit strategy and not necessarily counting for the randomness that can happen during the race. So I'd rather just take the full load of fuel on that I know that I need, and I always just do 1 tick up into the next number of laps. And then the tire-wise, then I kind of sort out like, okay, what do I want to start on mediums? Do I want to start on softs? So I'm actually going to start on mediums, and then we'll switch to softs on the pit stop. So let's go ahead and start race. Now, for sake of start, I'm actually going to just go straight on at turn 1 and let the field pass. Watch, it'll still give me a penalty. Okay. 10 laps at Spa. Breaking early. And the drivatars have not quite learned how to race each other in traffic. Aggressive now. So far so good. I haven't been run into yet, but there's still half a lap to go. Curse of the commentator. A little bit loose there. Oh, got a little wide there. A little bit late on the brakes. Well, a little bit late, but not necessarily brake really harshly either. All right, first run in anger through Eau Rouge. Let's see if I do it right. There's very minimal steering to get up onto the county straight. At some point I'll figure that turn out, but I still am on the mediums. Hey, there's Hitman in his 10-second car. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to know like how the driver tires in this game are maintained, updated. It just seems in some cases on their pathing, at least a couple of the other mock races I've done for last week's races, that they seem to have taken a step back. A lot of off tracks. Kind of makes me wonder if turn 10 is, for the driver tires in this game, if they're still accumulating, our data to kind of use to help with the driver tires, if they're solely doing it off of AI. I'm not. It just seems to have taken a slight step back, at least as far as their unforced errors. Yeah, for my own liking, I like the fact that on 8, even here, I've got, I'm up in the top 6, and the cars in front of me, I'm going to need to work to try and get around if I've got pace. I just wish that level of competition went a little deeper into the field. I'm going to use an old IndyCar 2 example just because of my remembrance of how that game handled difficulty settings. When it came to a qualifying, each track in the text file had, you could set a time in there and say that this is about, you'd say the median time for qualifying, and depending on the difficulty settings like that, half the field would try to go faster than that, half the field would go slower than that. So I kind of would like the same thing. So at least when I used to play IndyCar Racing 2, and I would try and tweak the settings, I wanted to tweak the qualifying time where I had to work my butt off if I wanted to get pole position, knowing that half the field could beat me, or that, try to make it as tough as possible. Giving me a little bit of a fight here in that focus. No, I'm not going to try that. And if I'd have timed that better, this one I could have made this less of a dive bomb than what it's going to be. Ooh, nice braking. Alright, so I'm going to have to set up for the Camel Straight. The hard part's going to be... I can probably carry a ton more speed through Eau Rouge and Radion, but I don't want to be right on this tail where then I've got to check up. So the idea is I want to maximize my momentum through there to carry that momentum down the straight. So I think this will work. Yeah, there we go. So I want to get that good run. It's got top end on me. Alright, so I'll need to be a little bit closer. So now I know I can be a little bit closer. There. This is the next corner I like setting it passes out of. If the car in front bobbles, then usually I've set up well enough where I can get the run and out and be able to outbrake him in the hairpin. I don't want to get a penalty at this point. That was late. Now I may have backed off from him enough. So we're going to see if I can, because I know I'm quicker through Blanchemont. And I don't want to be right on his tail as I get there. I want to, basically pass him on exit if I can. But I think, yeah, I'm still going to catch him too. Oh, I just about make this work. A little room on the inside. You're still there. There's a bit of the curving. Gentle on the throttle. And get the pass done. See if I can get some headway on the cars in front. Pushing a little bit. That's a big one. 2 seconds.
Total time
only
penalty
8
is about a
tenths.
second.
Okay. Throttle control. box at the end of this lap. Get off these mediums and see what we can do on the soft. Okay. So we get caught right at the cement wall. Okay, soft tires. Skip. Don't spit me out. Wow, very nice. Okay, so pit exit actually spits you out right where it should. It's not putting you out into the racing line, so that's good. Back down in 8. But cars in front of me still need to pit. A little early. I still salvaged it, but almost looked it. Look, but I'm not going to make a pass here. Is that I think I'm not too close to really, unless I can get by him before it's going to make this a little dicey. I had to leave a little room on the right side. Alright, well, I made up about 5 seconds on Hieronymus, though I don't think I'm going to be able to catch him. My hope is that if he does catch any of the cars in front of him, that they hold him up enough to get me into the fight. If that's him ahead of me on the track map, then maybe I've got a shot.
more.
Blue flag, blue flag. I can get a good run on the straight here if I do this right. Come on, turn. Join up. Stay over there. I'm gaining, I just don't know that I've got enough laps to catch him. That's about as close as you want to get to track limits to do. Straddle that curb on the exit. Oh, that was almost bad.
Final lap.
I think Darby was holding them up. Hieronymus has got your traffic. I don't know that I'm going to be able to catch up. Well, maybe I am. 2.8. More lap, I probably would have had it. But I'll take that. 2:34.5. Yeah, so maybe 9-10 laps on Thursday. But that's the Supra. Excuse me, the Supra at Spa. Again, just a couple of turns the car just doesn't seem to like, and just be very careful on some of the slow chicanes and hairpins as far as getting back to the throttle and the weight transfer, because the back of this car is a bit playful. I mean, it understeers, but it's got some oversteeriness too. So with that, I want to take a short break just to kind of poke around with Road America East and get an idea of what we can do there. But I hope you guys having a good Saturday, a good weekend, and happy racing.